recording. What is that noise?
Is this thing on?
Hey guys, welcome back to the Subjective Podcast. I'm your host, Danielle, and today it's just me. We have a little solo episode. It is, the end of the quarter, so I thought I would do some life updates, talk about some things that have been going on in my life and other people's lives, give some opinions, share, probably overshare, give TMI, you know. And all I have to say is Q4 was quite the whirlwind. There was a lot going on, and I want to talk about it. Now, first things first, I am recording at night, and usually I do it during the day. So I'm in my pajamas. I have no makeup on. I've already taken a little everything shower because tomorrow I'm going on a road trip back home to my mom's. So it's giving cozy, comfy vibes. And you guys are getting me in my rawest form. So love that for you. Anyways, so this episode might be a little all over the place, but I'm going to try to go in chronological order of where things happened throughout the quarter. So just stick with me. I did have to make a little outline because Nova. Anyway, I had to make a little outline because you guys know I have ADHD and my mind is all over the place. So obviously, I don't remember too much from October. October was all about launching this podcast. That's what happened in October. So we're going to just skip over that and get straight to hosting Thanksgiving. So I did host Thanksgiving for the first time, and it was interesting. I wouldn't actually say it was my first time because usually we host, it's just at my mom's house. So it was the first time hosting at my place. And I think it went well for the most part. I learned a lot. I will say, I will not be hosting again until I have like a big ass house where everyone can like have their own space, or until I live closer to my family and everyone can just disperse and go home at the end of the night. Because right now I live 6 hours away. So everyone that came stayed for the majority of the week, which it was a good time with my family. It's just, I live in an apartment, so everyone didn't have their own space. We're trying to share like the 2 bathrooms that I have, and I just think it would be a more comfortable situation for everyone if they had their own space. When we host at my mom's, everyone just goes home at the end of the night because they live close by. But everything went well. Food was good. I love Thanksgiving. I will say, I'm over turkey. Next year, we do not need a turkey. I can make a turkey. It's not dry, it's good, it's delicious, it's flavorful. However, this year, the turkey was turkeying. Like, it tasted like a bird, and I did not like that. You know how, like, when you have seafood and your seafood is fishy? Like, the turkey was turkey. Like, I can't even explain it. I didn't like it, and I'm not going to be eating it again. So, there's that. That's how I feel about turkey. So, next Thanksgiving, we're going to go back to my mom's house and we're going to say, forget the turkey. Okay, I had to make sure I was recording. Next thing. So I actually originally planned not to go home for Thanksgiving. I mean, for Christmas. I planned this whole little solo week. I was going to spend Christmas by myself in Charlotte. I was going to work out every day. I was going to go to the movies on Christmas Day, get Chinese food. And then I was like, that actually sounds depressing, spending Christmas alone. And I was like, I'm going to regret it. And I'm already off from work. So I don't know why I had this bright idea. I think I just wasn't in the mood to fly and pay what, like $150 each way for Nova. And I also didn't feel like driving 6 hours. But then I was like, why not? My mom's birthday is on Christmas Eve. So I want to be there for that. And I just want to hang out with my family. And over Thanksgiving, I had planned to record a couple of podcast episodes with my family, and that just didn't work out, which is why there were no episodes in December. And so hopefully when I go home for Christmas, I can make up for that. So I'm not going to do a solo Christmas anymore, but we are still going to go to the movies on Christmas Day and get Chinese food. So I'm still going to do the same things that I was going to do here, but just with my family, which makes more sense. And I'm just going to have to suck it up on the drive, like listen to podcasts, music, and probably put up some Netflix on my dashboard just to get through it. So it's not that bad, especially if I leave early in the morning. So I am going to go home for Christmas, and I'm glad I made that decision because I know I would have regretted it. Now, next thing. So I am having a little bit of family drama. And actually, I don't even know if it's family drama if it hasn't been addressed and the other person doesn't know about the drama. But let me explain. So, first, I feel like I have to give a little bit of background. So, I have a dad, obviously. My dad is married, and within his marriage, he has 5 kids. Before my dad got married, he had me first by my mom, and then I have a younger sister who he had with another woman before he got married and had his 5 children. And I'm only speaking for myself. I'm not going to speak for my sister. That's her experience. That's her story to tell if she ever decides to. But for me, I've always felt like me and my sister that were not created within my dad's marriage are like the outcast. And I think it's very clear and apparent. Like, there are a lot of things that my dad, even as we were growing up, obviously at this point, I'm 30. I don't care about a lot of these things, but it doesn't negate the fact that these are things that happen as I was growing up. And so essentially, every time my dad would have like a new kid, that meant there was less and less for me and my sister. And it's always been very clear to me that his family that he built with his wife are much more important than me and my sister. And this has always been through actions that you just can't ignore. And so I don't know how I got down this rabbit hole. So I think my dad had did a birthday post for another one of my sisters. And I seen it, and then I was just curious, and I was like scrolling through his page, and I realized he does a birthday post for all of his children with his wife every year. And what I noticed is there was never a birthday post for me or my sister. And I was like, huh, that's interesting. Maybe I'm tripping. Maybe this is all in my head. So I was like, okay, well, my sister's birthday is coming up on December. Let me just see if my theory is correct. So December 10th comes, and when I tell you guys, I'm like refreshing all day, all the way up until it was the next day to see if he does this birthday post for my sister. And of course, he didn't. And I'm like, I just don't understand. And I know that that sounds small. It sounds petty, a Facebook post. But I think for me, that Facebook post represents these feelings of we're not as important that have always been there for me growing up and as a kid. And I think just seeing that solidified it for me because I was trying to like think of excuses, think of reasons this could be possible. And I'm like, no, like you deliberately would have to go out of your way to say, I'm going to skip these birthdays and go on to the kids that are more important. And this is nothing against my siblings. It's not their fault. But like my birthday is literally 3 days after my dad's. So it's like you couldn't have forgot. And then another sibling's birthday comes in July. So he posts for that birthday, but you didn't post for mine. And then we have a sibling whose birthday's in November. He posts for that birthday. And then my sister's comes in December and there's no post. So it's like, how did you decide that you were going to do all of the kids except for the two that quote unquote are not a part of your family? It's just so bizarre to me. And I'm just like, I think about it like, who does that? How do you do that? How do you make that decision as a parent? Like, how do you just decide, like, fuck these other kids? These are the ones that are important, and these are the ones that I'm going to make sure know are important. And it's not even just that. Like, I was looking back through the Facebook and I was like, wow, he posts like all of their accomplishments, big or small, posts about them. Not once has he ever posted about this podcast, the launch of this podcast. He's never even reached out and congratulated me for launching this podcast. My sister, she like opened up a salon because she does hair. Didn't post anything about that. And I'm just like, how do you decide what is most important and what kids' accomplishments are most important? Because it's just bizarre to me because my mom's the complete opposite. Like this year, every year my mom usually does like a birthday post with a collage of photos for me, my brother, and my sister. And for some reason, she missed my sister's in May. So she literally sends us in the group chat and says, hey, just so you know, nobody's getting birthday posts this year because she missed one. So she wouldn't just miss one and then do the other kids, which makes sense. Like a normal parent would do that. So I don't know. You guys need to tell me if you're listening to this, even if you have daddy issues or you don't, am I tripping? Am I overreacting? Am I being dramatic? Like, I need opinions. I don't think I'm being dramatic. I think my feelings are very valid. And I think it just is like the icing on the cake of proving a point that I already knew was true. So, anyways, moving on. Let's get to some other things. So, oh my God, I've been feeling very unmotivated. I don't know what it is about Q4 that does it for me, but once it starts getting cold and the time changes, I don't want to do anything. And I usually am really consistent, like with my working out, you know, going to the gym, blah, blah, blah. I'm not that good with eating healthy, but I can go to the gym. But I've just been unmotivated. I can't find something that I really enjoy. I've been doing Pilates and I like it, but there's like a thin line of it being extremely intense versus boring. And also, it makes my back hurt. Like, I don't know what that's about. Like, I'm probably doing something wrong, but I just have been unmotivated. And so I'm trying to get my head back in the game. Hopefully, that'll happen in the new year. And finally, I'll reach my weight loss goal. But who knows? Other than that, I don't know if you guys use the feature if you have an Apple phone. There's this feature where you can like do family sharing. And I discovered it when I listened to Brittany Griner's audiobook and I really wanted my mom to listen to it. And I was trying to figure out like, can I share a book that I've already purchased with someone? So I figured out the Apple family sharing. And so I set it up with my mom and I set it up with my boyfriend because I wanted him to listen to Will Smith's audiobook, both audiobooks that I had already paid for. So when you set it up, apparently it gives people access to any apps that you've purchased, like your music, your books, all of the things. I don't know what kind of glitch was in mine, but I just happened to like open those emails where it's like an Apple receipt and it shows you like when they've taken out the money for Apple Music or whatever. And I noticed my boyfriend's Apple Music was coming out of my bank account because it was saying billed to Danielle Murray, and then it would say Apple ID, and it had his or my mom's. Their Apple Music was coming out of my bank account. LJ's BET Plus was coming out of my bank account. Like all of these new charges were coming out of my bank account from that family sharing. So I had to cut that off because I couldn't figure out like how did my card get attached to their Apple stuff and how many charges have I been getting because I actually don't check that kind of stuff. I usually don't even open those Apple emails, which is not good. Like I need to start doing that, but I don't know how many subscriptions have been coming out of my bank account, but there will be no more. So, mom, LJ, if you're wondering why you got kicked out of the family Apple sharing, that's why. Speaking of finances, I've had my car since 2016. So when I bought my car, it was brand new and I've had it since then. I only have like 70,000 miles on it and I paid it off and I plan to drive that car until it literally falls apart. Not just the wheels falling off. Like the car has to literally fall apart before I buy another one. And it's in great shape. I've had no major issues with it. I do all of the routine maintenance and it's an amazing car. Like I literally have not had any issues with it. But I was having an issue where my car wasn't starting. And I used to have a car named Ruby, if you know, you know. So I know a lot about cars not starting. And I can tell from the noises, like if it's the battery, if it's the starter, the alternator. So I could tell that it wasn't like the alternator or the starter because I would call little roadside assistance because I don't have jumper cables, but I did order one of those little jumper things where you don't need another car after this whole incident. And they came, they started my car. Soon as they did it, it took no time. It just started up immediately. So I was thinking like, oh shit, it's because it's cold outside. And I work from home. I don't drive that much. If I drive, it's literally to work out because I get my groceries delivered. Um, I don't go that many places. If I do, my boyfriend drives. So there's some days that my car is sitting for days and days and days. So I was just like, oh, the car's cold and it won't start. So the next day comes, the car doesn't start again. I called roadside assistance and I was like, what's happening? And so the guy was like, oh, you might need to like tighten some things up and clean off some shit. So he did that and it still didn't start. So I went to AutoZone. They tested the battery. They said it was bad. And I got a new battery, and then that was it. So I don't even know what the importance of that story was. I think it's just that having a good car is underrated, but I'm thankful that it was just my battery. Moving on, my stomach has been hurting. Um, I really have stomach problems. Like, I want to go see a doctor because my stomach always hurts. And I have been trying to figure out, like, oh, I know when I eat ice cream, that makes my stomach hurt. Doesn't mean I'm going to stop eating ice cream. But then there's other foods that make my stomach hurt. So I've been trying to figure out, like, okay, what is it that doesn't make my stomach hurt? So far, it's sushi. Sushi doesn't make my stomach hurt. Um, and it's been such a challenge. Like, the last few weeks, I have literally been nervous to eat, which I guess isn't that bad. Like, great, that'll help me get skinny. But I've been nervous to eat because I'm like, oh my God, if I eat this, I'm going to be nauseous. However, I have discovered bone broth. So I had some in my cabinet randomly. And I was like, well, let me just drink this. Like, this has a little protein in it. And what could go wrong? Like, it's a warm drink. It'll make my stomach feel better. And it did. And I was like, oh, wow, this is delicious. And it has protein and it doesn't make my stomach hurt. And it kind of makes me feel full because it's like warm. So I ordered a bunch of it from Costco. And that has been what is keeping me alive. Like, if I eat something and my stomach starts to hurt, I'll eat bone broth. I don't know the science about or the science behind bone broth. I did look it up a little bit and it is supposed to help with like gut health and things like that. But I don't know. If anyone else has belly problems, what do you do to help it? Because there's just some things that I'm not willing to do. Like, I'm not going to cut out dairy, not fully, but like maybe I'll limit it. And I'm not going to go gluten free because there's nothing left to eat at that point. So help me. Like, does your stomach hurt? And if so, like, what makes it hurt? What fixes the stomach issues? I have got to know. Um, okay. Oh my gosh, I missed such a big part of the story. Sorry, I have to go back to Thanksgiving break because I don't think I talked about the fucking crazy Karen at the outlets. So, when my family was here, we actually ended up going to the outlets. And I was in Aerie, which if you don't know what Aerie is, it's like a little uh extension to American Eagle. So if you go to an American Eagle, there's sometimes an Aerie beside it and it's like smaller. It's like the pink to Victoria's Secret, if that makes sense. So I was in there and I ended up getting a couple of things and I was in line waiting to check out. And this lady was behind me. And you know how, like, whenever you're in line and you're kind of looking at things that are out of the line. So if there's like a display of jewelry or something, and you might step out of the line a little bit, but like your expectation is still to get back in your spot. So that's what this lady that was behind me was doing. And she was black. She was a Karen. She had this little fucking miniature ponytail that was this big on the top of her head with skinny jeans and ballerina flats. And she had on like a tank top that was pulled all the way down over her pockets. I'm just setting the scene so you guys can understand what this Karen looked like. And so one of the workers comes and he says, hey guys, like, can you guys shift the line over this way so that you're not like in the walkway right in the middle of the store? And I was like, yeah, sure. So I moved over there. I don't know if the black Karen heard him, but that wasn't my problem. So she sees these other people coming to get behind me and she's telling them like, hey, the line's over here. And they were like, no, it's not. And she's like, yeah, the line's over here. Ask her. Like, I was right behind you, wasn't I? She's pointing to me. And I was like, yeah, but like he asked us to move the line over here so that we could be out the way. And she was like, well, that's stupid. And I was like, okay, I didn't make the rules. I'm just letting you know, like, that's what he said. So we all moved over here. So now the line's over here. And so she's just going on and on. And I said, ma'am, you don't have to be rude, because she's like bitching at the man who works there. And I'm like, you don't have to be rude. And she was like, this is none of your business. Um, and she just, I don't even fucking remember what she was saying, but she was getting smart. And I'm just looking at her like, okay, so this is what we're going to do. So then she's going back and forth, and you know me, I have a response for anything she's saying. I don't even know what she was saying, but I had a response. And she's going to say, "Okay, can you just stop?" And I said, "Can you just stop?" She's like, "Just stop arguing with me. You're being so disrespectful." And I said, "Stop arguing with me. And how am I being disrespectful?" And so she's going, and I think that she thought I was a child. And I said, "Ma'am, I'm not your child. So if you feel like I'm being disrespectful, so be it. But I'm not going to stop talking just because you told me to stop talking. Now I'm going to start talking more. Like, duh." And so the cashier is literally looking at this woman like she's crazy. Everyone's looking at her like she's crazy, because it's like, you did all of this because this man asked us not to have the line in the middle of the store. Make it make sense. And one thing I cannot stand is when people are fucking rude to the workers at retail stores or in restaurants, especially when it's unprovoked and it's for no reason. Like, I know how it feels when you work in those situations and you can't say what you really want to say. So if I see it, I'm going to defend them and I'm going to say something, because you shouldn't be acting like such a bitch. And so she goes, when I don't stop talking, she goes, "You're just mad because you're ugly." And I said, "Oh." So I bust out laughing right in her face. You know, if you're ever arguing with someone, bust out laughing in their face. That will literally take them up a few notches. And like, once I know I've gotten under your skin, I am now in control of this situation. So I bust out laughing in her face, and she's so upset. So at this point, she is next to go like to the cashier. I'm at the cashier. And the reason why all of this transpired is because whoever was in front of us had all these returns. So we were standing there for quite a long time. And so when I'm done, I go outside because my mom, my grandma, and my sister were waiting for me outside because the store is tiny. And I'm telling them the story, and I was just so glad that my little sister wasn't in there, because one thing about her, she will ride at dawn for me. She will crash out about me. And that whole situation would have escalated to something way bigger than what it was. So I was glad about that. But I'm like telling them the story. And then I'm like, you guys have to see this woman, because she says, "I'm mad because I'm ugly." You have to look at her. Because when she said that, I said, "Ma'am, look at you and look at me. Make it make sense." And also, at your big age, why is that your way of arguing? Like, you're going to say I'm ugly? We both know that's not true. The cashier was like, "You're not ugly. Your smile is so beautiful." I was like, "Thank you. I know." And anyways, so we're waiting outside because I have to let my family like see this woman that has just called me ugly. So she comes out and I'm like, "Mom, Leia, there she is." And so all of us just bust out laughing, and she's like, sees us and she's mad. She starts stomping down the concrete. And then as she gets like a little bit farther, she's like, "Andrew Hood." Girl, we started laughing even more because what are you talking about? Anyways, I just had to tell you guys about that story because that was one of the highlights of Thanksgiving break. But anyways, back to some other things. So I wanted to talk about some things that aren't going on in my life, but Michael, my BFF, texted me one of these days. It's been a couple weeks now, but he said, "We can never have anything." And I was like, "Michael, what the fuck are you talking about?" And he's like, "They're banning TikTok in January." And I had to do my research, and I'm like, "Oh my God, they really are trying to take TikTok away." And I'm interested to see how this goes. One, I'm kind of annoyed by it because, like, I love TikTok. Like, I love scrolling. I love seeing everyone's life and what's going on. And I'm like, does that mean I have to go back to Instagram? Like, what's next? I don't know. So I'm irritated about that. And I'm also interested to see, like, what happens. Like, are they just going to stop releasing, like, updates in the App Store, but, like, I can still scroll? Or is the app going to just disappear from my phone? I have questions. They need to send out a little day of game plan. That's what I want to know. And speaking of TikTok, one of the things that I know you guys have been seeing is like that Pop the Balloon dating show. Oh my God. That show is so ruthless. There is not one penny that you could pay me to go on that show because some of the people are so mean and nasty and like they will pop the balloon as soon as they walk out. Honey, I would evaporate into thin air if I walked out and all you hear is people start popping their balloons. Like, there has got to be a better way to do this. It is so embarrassing. Like, I would be so embarrassed and like, I just could not take that type of humiliation. So I do not know why people keep going on this show. I will watch it every time I scroll, but all I be thinking about is, oh my gosh, this is so sad. And then the host is no help. Like the people will be like, I just don't like her because her outfit's ugly. And then the host will say, what's wrong with her outfit? And then the cameraman will pan to her outfit and she won't even say anything like, no, her outfit's cute. Like, she doesn't even try to, she's very neutral, which I guess is good in that situation. But I just be like, oh my gosh. Or like when they be like, oh, I don't like your toes. And then the cameraman will zoom in on their feet. This is so toxic. Like, this is not the way to find love, okay? I don't know. There has to be something else because then even if I leave there with someone, they're still going to be in the back of their mind that all these people pop their balloon on me for one reason or another and they pointed out my flaws. Girl, I could never handle it. Anyways, I also went to see Wicked and I enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. I liked the message, but my only beef with you fucking internet movie reviewers is that you guys never disclose that it's a musical. I feel like that's important. And also, the creator of the movies, like, can you put musical in the title? Like, I want to know what I'm getting myself into for 2 hours. If I'm going to have to hear all of this singing and dancing, I need to mentally prepare myself for that. So when I went to the movies, I wasn't mentally prepared for a musical. And I just feel like it's false advertising when they don't tell you that it's a musical. That was my only beef with the movie. Everything else was good. I enjoyed the message. I enjoyed the movie. But that needs to be disclosed. I've been on a movie and TV kick. So I also watched The Ultimatum. Now, I love trash TV, but let me tell you, first of all, what would possess you to take your man or your girl on this television show where they essentially are going to date someone else in order to decide if you are worthy of them marrying? Now, these cast members, first of all, Nick is hilarious. Okay. Nick is a certified crash out. He's also cracked out. He is on some serious drugs and this was not a good environment for him to be. But also, why is everyone acting like his behavior was so bad? That's exactly what you should be doing when you know that your girlfriend is upstairs with another man, knocking on the door and trying to put an end to it. Everyone else is just like acting like this is normal. So I stand with Nick, first of all. Second, JR and Scotty. Both I didn't like either of them. First of all, they both are so sassy. Like they were super sassy. And I don't know what is up with these sassy men these days, but I just cannot deal with it. Like Scotty with his big ass dangling earrings and JR, who you could just tell is just now starting to get attention and he just doesn't know how to handle it. Also, Scotty, the way that he looks at Zaina, I can tell he hits women. Okay? Trust me, I have seen those looks before. He hits women. He's crazy. And thankfully, Arya got away from him. JR, he is just sassy. That's it. Like, he's sassy and he's weird and he just needs to go. I watched the reunion and I just felt like Arya did too much trying to come for Caleb, talking about, oh, you were looking at my stories. Why the fuck do people always use that as any type of help with their their idea that you like them? Like, when I look at people's Instagram stories, I have never strategically went to look at anyone's Instagram stories except my man. I actually get notifications for his. But if I look at your Instagram stories, don't you ever think that it's because I like you or I was trying to look at your stories. I was tapping and you were just next in line. Like, I don't get how you could take that as anything but what it is. Make it make sense. Anyways, these shows are trash, but I'm gonna keep watching them. But I'm just like, you guys are crazy. Um, Other than that, TV wise, I have restarted watching Criminal Minds. And if you know me, you know that I started watching Criminal Minds when I was a sophomore in college. It's my comfort show. I have watched it from season one to the end at least 100 times. I started over, I'm back on season four, and it just like captivates me. Like, I can sit and watch Criminal Minds like it is the first time I've ever seen it. Like, it is amazing. I've also started watching Black Mirror, which is interesting. I really like the concept of those shows that like every episode is different and it has different characters. As an ADHD girly, like, I love the opportunity to watch something and like not have to remember what happened last. So I'll report back on my reviews on Black Mirror. Um, what else? What else? Oh, I've also been reading. I'm reading this book called A Flicker in the Dark, and it's about this girl who is like a therapist, but her dad actually ended up being like a serial killer in their town. I'm not that far in, but it's really good so far, and I'm enjoying it. I really love to read. I just had to get out of like the self-help era. Like, I really just want to read books that I enjoy, and I enjoy a good novel. Um, and obviously, I enjoy crime because that seems to be the theme, but it's really good so far. So, I highly recommend. It has a lot of good reviews on Goodreads. And yeah, I've just been reading it on my Kindle. I love my Kindle, by the way. If you're into reading, I highly suggest a Kindle. What else is going on? Oh, I've really been into Korean skincare. So I finished Accutane earlier this year. And it's going really well. My skin is super clear. And all I've really been using is Korean skincare. I've been doing a lot with like just moisturizing my skin, and then using SPF. I've really been liking the brand Medicube and then Hot Labo. I don't know. All I do know is like all of the packaging is in a different language that I can't read. So I don't even know like what the directions on this stuff says, but I think it's been working. I've just been trying to keep my skin hydrated and bright and clear. So, Korean skincare, if you need recommendations, hit me up. I'll let you know what I've been using. Um, and I think that's really it. I mean, I think this quarter was quite the roller coaster. As you can see, it was all over the place. Things were happening and not happening. But I am really excited for 2025 because unfortunately, I am one of those girls who has to start their brand new life at the beginning of the year. What I will say is that I did a vision board last year and I was looking at it and I was like, oh, my vision hasn't really changed. So everything is just going to be elevated. And so I, my main goals have to do with like this podcast, like growing the podcast, posting consistently, having a strict posting schedule for the podcast, And then I also want to just continue to be consistent with like my health and fitness. I want to eat cleaner, which is on my list every year. I want to move this year. And Nova, what's going on? What is that? Think the neighbors are outside. Okay. Anywho, so I want to, what did I already say? I want to move. I want to just do better at like saving money. Oh, and I really want to adopt an underconsumption lifestyle. So I'm really committing to not shopping. I'm going to shop my own closet. I'm going to use up all of my products. There's no reason for me to have hundreds of perfumes. Like, I'm using up all of my shit before I buy new shit. That's like my number one goal. I'm really interested to see like how much money I can save by doing this. I use the Copilot app. I used to use Rocket Money. Now I use Copilot to be able to see like all the categories of where I'm spending and all of that. So that'll be interesting. Maybe at the end of Q1, I'll do another check-in, like a little life update from Q1, and we'll go from there. But I think that's it. Thank you guys for watching. I also feel like this is the perfect time to say that if you are watching and you're not liking or disliking, whatever, say it with your chest, the videos or leaving any reviews on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts, I would really appreciate it if you would do that. I prefer 5-star reviews. However, say what you feel, say it with your chest. Be honest. Other than that, I think that's it. So remember to follow us at The Subjective Pod on TikTok for as long as it's available and on Instagram. And you can listen to this on YouTube or you can listen on any podcasting platform that's Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcasts. And that's it. So I will talk to you guys in the next episode. Okay, bye.